Hello, my dears, and welcome back to my weekly intention series. For those of you who are new here, welcome. These are short little transmissions, really, where I offer an intention to help us guide our focus in the days ahead, using the kitchen as a starting point. But I hope these intentions extend out of the kitchen as well into our bigger lives, our larger lives. Today's intention, I always feel like I land on the intention I'm supposed to share with you when it's not the intention I want to talk about. It's like when I'm being guided to do something and you have that little bit of like, oh, I don't really want to talk about that. That's when I know I've hit upon the right thing. Sometimes you got to dive into the fear a little bit, I think, to get to the other side, to find the truth of what you're feeling in the moment. At least for me. So the intention that came forth today, which might not surprise you guys, because I've written about this a lot in the newsletter recently, is I will nourish myself first. I will nourish myself first. If you read my newsletter on Sunday, this is really the topic of that newsletter. And it's a large theme that weaves in my podcast conversation last week with Megan Watterson. It's about this importance of nourishing ourselves first, of getting selfish enough to feed ourselves, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually, in order to show up in the world as the truest, most powerful versions of ourselves. It feels like it's a hard thing to swallow. This is a practice I have to remind myself of over and over again. And that's why I had some resistance to sharing it with you today. I will nourish myself first. We are taught over and over again that it's wrong to be selfish. It's narcissistic to be selfish. And yeah, of course, there is some truth to that, depending on how you're defining selfish. How I'm defining this is we have to fill our cups first in order for that to flow out into the world. It's like, as Megan Watterson explained in that podcast conversation, for us to find our true power, we have to first go inward. We go inward to ascend. And as I've been really practicing this in a way that's not always easy, it feels like when I fill my cup and I feel nourished emotionally, physically, and spiritually, and I prioritize that, then it's an overflow. It's an emanation. The goodness can flow out of me with ease, and it's not effortful. I don't have to go out in the world and I need to save the world. I have to do this. There's like always an element of that intention of I want my work to do good things in the world. And I can also then surrender and let go of this striving, this need to prove myself, this desire for validation that I've got to go out in the world and heal everybody or whatever that is. Because you know what? That's usually just driven by my ego. And that's not where true change comes from. I think true change comes from that purity of heart. I will nourish myself first. What does life look like when we prioritize our physical, our spiritual, and our emotional needs? And I want to frame this by saying we are all in very different seasons of life. So for those of you out there with very small children, you are in a season of life where you're needed in a much far different way than somebody who doesn't have children, or that is retired, or that for me has kids who are 10 and 15, and all of a sudden I have more space in my life. That being said, I don't want to say it's easier to nourish yourself first if you don't have small children. I'm going to say it's less complicated because we are all so conditioned around how we nourish ourselves, what's good, what's bad. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. That can be very hard to shut that down in order to get quiet enough to listen. What do I need? What do I authentically want? What will authentically fill me up? That's not easy for many of us. We are in a very loud world and there's so much going on and there's so much it feels like we need to do. Like I talked about in the last weekly intention, I will slow down. Sometimes we have to slow down so we can get quiet enough to hear what it is that we need, how we can fill ourselves up authentically so that can flow out and flow over and we can show up in our full power, in our full grace to enact the changes we want to see. So let's get into the kitchen. Because, of course, this is where all of our analogies start here on Mind, Body, Spirit, Food. You know, it's interesting. I recently had a one-on-one client call, and the woman that I was speaking with has a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. And as she got into her intuition, because really my job in these calls is to really help people access that part of themselves because we all have the answers inside of us, right? And what she revealed to herself is that in the chaos of her life right now, she's hungry for something she's not getting. What she realized, what the solution, if that's kind of the word to use here, is she realized she wanted to eat alone. It sounds so simple, like I want to eat alone, but gosh, it was powerful for her to admit that because she has very strong ideas of what it meant to sit down as a family every single night for dinner. And the reality of that was it was causing immense amounts of stress, not just in her life, but like in the family dynamic. And so what if she gave herself just a few meals a week where she fed the kids early and then was able to eat by herself? That's what she realized felt like true nourishment. She needed that nourishment because she was burning out. Her cup was being depleted. For me, when I think about nourishing myself, how do I do this in the kitchen? We can do this in like micro little ways. So I'm also feeding a family. I make a menu at the start of the week, so I know what I'm doing every night. That just takes the guesswork out of what I'm making. But I'm not always asking myself, like, what do I want to eat? Because this is all about me. This is not what I'm trying to say here. But how do I nourish myself in this process of also having to feed other people? So for me, that's bringing intention into the cooking process and making the cooking process itself more nourishing. Putting on the music that feels good, making myself a special drink like a cup of tea, or I'll do seltzer with bitters or a glass of wine, something to nourish the process of cooking and to be present, really, because the process of cooking when I'm present can be incredibly satisfying. But also, like more practically, the way I do this for myself is at lunch. At lunch is my sacred meal. I get to eat alone or with my husband, but we make totally separate things. We kind of eat like, it's like parallel play. We are like parallel playing in the kitchen. We don't really talk too much, but we're both kind of in our own zone of making ourselves what we want to eat. And it's my time to eat whatever the heck I want, whether it's like leftovers in the fridge or making myself some crazy concoction. I get to choose. And I love that experience because for much of my work here for you guys and with my family, I'm feeding other people all the time. So lunch is that moment of my day. But I will also say that it doesn't have to be lunch. It can be breakfast. It can be a cup of tea that you make just for you at night when the kids are in bed or when you're on the couch. What is going to feel nourishing for you? This is not with food, but I thought maybe it would be helpful. I've also adopted these like intentional naps, intentional quiet time. So if I'm exhausted, I have found if I'm really intentional, if I only have a few minutes and I shut my eyes and I set an intention, may this moment of quiet nourish me. And I kind of draw my energy inward and I just get really quiet and really intentional. That 5 minutes can feel like a 45-minute nap. that nourishes me so that when I go pick up my kids or do whatever I can do, I am fully in me. That light in me can spill outward to other people. So this week, let's get freaking selfish. Let's get selfish and nourish ourselves first with the understanding that this is how we are going to best enact the changes we want to see in the world. We have to show up as the fullest version of ourselves. And that can be such a delicious thing to do. Let's get out of the conditioned mind that puts ourselves last on the list. Let's move us to the top of the list. And again, we can do this in really, really small ways. What are some small ways? Can you just check in like 3 times a day? Maybe put like a little bird chirping alert on your phone. One of my best friends has a bird chirp as her like text sound, and I love it. So maybe put a little bird chirp on your phone a few times a day as a reminder to check in and be like, ooh, what do I need? What do I want in this moment? What do I need and what do I want? And can I just give myself a little bit of that? If I want to go get out of town and take a trip somewhere, that's not always possible. But what can I give myself in this moment? Can I lay on the floor of my office and just massage my shoulders? That sounds really weird. I don't know where that came from, but maybe that's what I need to do after I get off of this recording. What little thing can you do to nourish yourself? Yes, with food. Yes, physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. Because my lovey doves, you are so worth it. We need you to do this. We need to do this together. We have to nourish ourselves. The more we do this together, the brighter we'll shine collectively. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. Please pop in to the comments with your thoughts. What does it look like to nourish yourself first? Are there small ways that you're doing this in your life or that you can practice doing this? Or what are the intentions that you're setting for yourself this week? Or the intention, if there's just one, I'd love to hear. You can also dive into more of this in the newsletter over on Substack, Mind, Body, Spirit, Food, and in my new book, Mind, Body, Spirit, Food, which is now available for pre-order. Pre-orders are massively important and they really help the book and they really can support an author. So if you're digging it, please pre-order that book. It comes out January 13th. Otherwise, I'll see you over in the newsletter. And until we meet again, just remember to nourish yourself with intention and love. Bye for now.